Hello, guys and gals, and welcome! Welcome. So we finally got the patch notes for 0.5 for Path of Exile 2, and they're probably going to be big ones. We're going to go over all the information here, and we're going to try and figure out what's going on. Looks like we have a brief overview: Origins of Divinity, the Hare and the Raven, the Waking the Dreamer, Rite of the Nameless, Masters of the Atlas, the Runes of Aldlar, Aldlar, uncover the Ezomite Remnants, 100 plus new crafting runes, 17 plus new Kalguuran skills, explore the Uncharted Seas, 15 new bosses, 400 new Atlas tree nodes, 30 new unique items, build planner QOL features, new Ascendancy classes, the Martial Artist and the Spirit Walker. Of course, you get to start fresh with a new economy, which is pretty much the same with every single league. Start. In each area of the Runes of Aldlar, you will find a remnant, which allows you to craft an item of your choosing by using the runic recipes. We looked at that with the thing. It basically kind of like click on it, and it shows you like different options. Depending on the runes that are on it and what words you can make, it's kind of like word scramble. Except with runes. Depending on the rune shapes you use, you will then face an encounter with tough enemies you defeat to claim your item. Each additional rune shape you use to craft will increase the number of waves of enemies, adding runic modifiers to the enemies with each wave. Remnants start with any number of slots between 2 to 10 of higher numbers, which being much rarer, but allowing you to craft much rarer items. Monsters raised by Remnants can drop Verisium metal, a new currency which used in the season. Added a new NPC Pharaoh with 4 new quests in the campaign, allowing you to unlock various new crafting features. New crafting system is the Verisium Rune Forging. After unlocking the Rune Forging in Act 1, there's a system that allows you to add Runic Ward to your armors by spending Verisium. Armors lower than level 55 gain Runic Ward with no downside. Armors above this level trade some of their regular base defense for Runic Ward. Interesting. I was wondering if that was going to be like just like free survivability, but it sounds to me like it's not free survivability. It's going to be a trade-off. Interesting. Added a new defense, the Runic Ward. The defense kicks in once you reach 1 life, allowing you to continue to survive while your Runic Ward takes damage. Runic Ward regenerates independently of your life. Added 13 new alloy currency items, which can be unlocked through Remnant encounters after completing the Pharaoh's quest in Act 2. These items add various new crafted modifiers by replacing an existing modifier similar to perfect essences. After unlocking Verisium, Rune Forging in Act 3, you can upgrade the base type of unique armors, which is really cool. They drop at levels lower than level 55. These upgrades generally increase the base defense, allowing low-level unique armors to become more competitive in a game. Unique armors above level 55 can still be rune forged to modify their defenses to include Runic Ward, at the cost of reducing their other defenses similar to these base types. Unique Verisium Reforging has additional properties when using Kalguuran uniques. Huh. Added 13 ancient runes which can be unlocked to be crafted by Remnant counters after completing Pharaoh's quest in Act 4. These runes have powerful bonuses for each specific weapon type. Added 13 mythical early game runes that can be crafted by Remnant encounters to provide significant boosts to level 15 plus characters. Added 3 fluxes which can be crafted to Remnants, transform these resistances on your items from one element to another. That's actually really nice. Added 15 meta crafting runes that can be crafted from Remnants. Added 60 plus runes that can be created by destroying a unique to make a rune. It gains some of its properties. 60 runes that can be created by destroying a unique to make a rune. So there's 60 plus runes that are essentially the creation of a unique item crushed into its essential powders. Added 15 plus runic wards that can be crafted from remnants, adding or modifying properties to that related runic ward. Added 21 Kalguuran skills that can be crafted from remnants, Animus Exchange, Animus Splinters, Bitter Dead, Conductive Runes, Detonate Living, External March, Explosive Transmutation, Fragments of the Past, Frostflame Nova, Grim Pillars, Hollow Shell, Ley Lines, Powered by Verisium, Refutation, Remnants of Kalgur, Repulsion, Runic Reprieve, Skyfall, Triskelion Cascade, Verisium Manifestations, and Voltic Barrier. So those are the new Kalguuran skills. Those are the ones that are going to be really interesting to work into builds this season. Added 8 Kalguuran supports that can be crafted for Remnants. These are the supports. Concussive runes, Fists of Kalgur, healing runes, Kalguuran Conviction, Runeforge Blades, Runic Extraction, Runic Confusion, and Scouring Flame. Expedition Remnants have been changed into Remnants from the Runes of Aldlar League. New endgame story set out the expedition of Pharaoh to explore the ocean as you investigate the tombs of the fallen. Kalguurans and challenge them to earn remarkable rewards. Seek out the crater of the fallen star, a meteor of pure Verisium from which you hope to forge objects of immense power. You can defeat what awaits you there. There is now a hub area, the ruins of Kingsmarch, for the runes of Aldlar to the southeast of your starting location of the Atlas. The logbook mechanic has been changed into the ocean exploring mechanic. Using logbooks now unveils a section of the ocean with a variety of islands to explore. Many new underground areas have been added that can be uncovered during expeditions. Many new islands have been added to the grand expeditions, previously known as logbooks. Medved, Vorana, and Uthred join Ulroth as the 4 faction leaders available to fight on the new islands that you can discover in the ocean. Defeating Ulroth will give you a key that you can use to access the new Pinnacle boss for the Runes of Aldlar. The new Runes of Aldlar Challenge League includes the first set of challenges in Path of Exile 2, earns a piece of the Knight Aldlar armor set when you complete 2, 4, 6, and 8 challenges in the Runes of Aldlar. These challenges rewards are only obtainable in this league. From the first challenge onwards, and for every challenge after that, you will receive pieces of the Aldlar totem decoration to display in your hideout. The totem pole permanently showcases how many of the Runes of Aldlar challenges you completed during the league. All of your old characters from the early access launch are still present, but free passive skill tree refund has been granted due to the changes. We would highly encourage you to join the league, new leagues, and fully take in the changes we made with the 0.5 update. With 0.5, there are standard, hardcore, solo, self-found variations of the Runes of Aldlar Challenge League available. They have the same core mechanics and items, and you can create private league versions of these characters. The hardcore variations of the Rune in Aldlar are parented to their standard Runes Aldlar equivalent, meaning if you die, hardcore of all Runes of Aldlar, you can continue in the standard league. Endgame. The Atlas now has fixed points of interest at specific locations, giving you distinct objectives that are easy to find. All League mechanics on the Atlas now have quests that introduce you to the mechanic and guide you through its various stages up to the Pinnacle boss. All Pinnacle bosses now have a quest variation that can be accessed deterministically alongside repeatable non-quest versions that offer a greater challenge. Added 30 new endgame map areas. Origins of Divinity. New endgame storyline. The Cataclysm of the Beast has invoked an ancient protocol designed to scour for and purge corruption should it ever take hold to this degree. Traverse the Atlas to enter the fortress and activate the gates. Obtain the keys to reach the precursor weapons and disarm them. On completion of your first tower, a fortress will rise from the earth. Maps inside the fortress grant 1 or more passive points for the Atlas tree. This entirely replaces the previous method of gaining Atlas points. The Atlas tree has significantly expanded with over 300 nodes. After completing all maps inside the fortress, you will gain enough passive points to fully allocate the tree. As the entire tree can be fully allocated, there is no need to allow respecialization for it anymore. Multi-choice nodes on the tree can be changed between options at any time. Many maps in the fortress have ancient modifiers that add or modify contents of the map. Any maps with modifiers that add a secondary content to a map also implicitly add that content to the map as well. Added 40 plus ancient modifiers that have a chance to appear on any map outside the fortress. Added 3 gateway maps with 2 new bosses that can be used to access different sections of the fortress. New precursor tower maps have been added outside the fortress. The Burning Monolith, along with the Arbiter of Ash, has been moved into the fortress. Quest versions of the Crisis Fragments have been added to 2 Enigma chambers inside the fortress. Added 2 new Citadel maps with 2 new bosses that drop keys to the new Pinnacle boss. Added Arbiter of Divinity Pinnacle boss. Maps in the fortress can alternately be completed by killing the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times to complete different sections of the fortress automatically in order to gain the Atlas tree points. Masters of the Atlas. Alongside the Atlas tree, a new system called Masters of the Atlas, Ascendancy style progression for endgame players can align with different masters, such as Jado, the Order of the Jinn, or the Monster Hunter Hilda, each offering unique asymmetric bonuses that can be swapped between maps at will, enabling build-defining bonuses. Each master has 12 nodes, and 4 can be selected at the same time. You can change your selection at any time. All 3 masters can be allocated at the same time with quick select button to change between each master before you run out of map. Unlock each row of 3 nodes by performing missions for the Masters. New Atlas Masters. Doriani's Science questline is unlocked by clearing the Corruption Nexus. The Atlas Master Hilda's Hunting questline is locked behind Hilda's campsite slightly southwest of your starting location. Atlas Master Jado's Spycraft questline is unlocked by completing an anomaly map near the start location. Delirium, new storyline. An ancient trickster god has been unleashed, spreading madness across Rayclast. Do you dare discover his origins and confront the darkest fears? There's a kind of like a huge quest line now. There's a hub area, the Withered Hollow for Delirium, to the southwest of your starting location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contain Deliriums and give you points for Delirium in the passive tree. The Delirium Atlas passive tree is completely revamped with many new nodes. Existing node changes. After breaking Delirium Mirror, there is now a progress bar showing how deep you are in the fog and how long you have until the fog clears. The start of the Delirium bar represents your initial location in the Delirium Mirror, and the end of the Delirium bar represents the location of the map boss. There are now a set of new Delirium encounters that can be seen on the Delirium bar. Reach certain depths will cause colored mirror shards to appear. Walking into the mirror shards will break them, and activating new encounters. The direction of the map boss can be observed by looking at the fog effect. Moving in the direction of the fog will always lead you to the map boss. Map bosses in Delirium will always be 100% delirious. The damage and life bonus given to monsters from Delirium has been reduced. Added 5 new elite Delirium monsters. Added a new sub-area, the Loathsome Mire. The Loathsome Mire drops 2 new amulet base types that grant 2 instilled notables at the cost of either 1 suffix or 1 prefix. Liquid emotions can now be used to craft additional mods on jewels. These work similarly to greater essences, each having a set of specific mods that will replace a random existing mod on an item. Completing Delirium Mirrors now has a chance to spawn Grand Mirrors on Atlas and a nearby map. Grand Mirrors create a duplicate of the map in the affected map. Killing both of the map bosses will unlock a new Atlas mechanic, the Trial of Madness. After triggering the Trial of Madness, the fog will spread from a map of your choosing on the Atlas, including a locked simulacrum. While inside the fog, the map is delirious, starting at 10%, killing rare monsters and the map boss. Increased the deliriousness of all maps in the fog. Once reaching 100%, it will become available. Deliriousness can continue to be increased up to 200%. Rare and unique monsters in Delirious maps have a new set of Delirious modifiers, giving them strange new abilities. Map bosses in the Delirious maps can additionally drop a new set of 3 potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on jewels that are not available in the normal jewel pool. These emotions can be used to instill a set of 16 new passive tree notables that are not normally available on the passive tree. Simulacrum has been updated and is now a 7-wave encounter. Completing it will now give you a key to face the new Delirium boss. There is a new set of 10 ancient emotions that can be dropped if unlocked by the Atlas tree, which can be used to craft the Time Lost jewels. There are 3 ancient potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on Time Lost jewels that are normally not available in the mod pool. Some non-amulet Delirium uniques now drop the Raven Touch modifier, allowing them to be instilled. Breach, new Breach storyline. Travel to the Monastery of the Keepers, the hallowed halls of the Keepers of Flame, and discover the Genesis tree, stolen from the enemy and gifted to the Keepers by the Dreamer himself. For more information, see the Breach page. There is a new hub area, the Monastery of the Keepers, to the south of your starting location, and the maps around this location all contain Breach encounters. Completing these maps gives you points to the Breach Atlas tree. The Breach Atlas tree is completely revamped with many new nodes and existing changes. Starting a Breach now shows the progress bar that indicates how long you have until the Breach will close and how much time monsters is extending the life of the Breach. So, like, this was actually a pretty big change for me because I always felt like I had no clue how long the Breach was going to be, whether I was making progress, if I was killing monsters quickly enough, which monsters gave me the most points to keep the Breach open. It seems like in general it's going to be a lot easier to tell now. Reaching 100% on this bar will begin a new mechanic, a stabilized reach. A stabilized reach will spawn new challenges at its starting point. Added a new boss to the stabilized reach, Vrun, Marshal of Zesht. Added a new crafting system, the Genesis tree. The Genesis tree allows consuming womb gifts and hive blood to create rings, amulets, belts, and currency, which is based on essentially like how you set the tree up. Nodes on the Genesis tree can be allocated to affect what items will craft. New nodes are unlocked by using the womb gifts. Added 6 new ring base types that can be exclusively crafted from the tree. 4 new amulet base types. 4 new belt base types. And a new set of caster and minion mods that can only be crafted on rings and belts using the tree. Catalysts can no longer drop from monsters. These are now solely obtained from the Genesis tree, and added a new set of 12 catalysts that can add new quality modifiers to jewels. Killing monsters in the breach now drops high blood and womb gifts and breachstone splinters. Breachstone splinters turn into special womb gift when fully stacked. This can be turned into the Genesis tree to create a breachstone. New breach domain now spawns on the Atlas. Using the breachstone will reveal maps inside the domain, allowing you to enter them. Maps inside the breach domain contain a new encounter, breach hives, Skyhives, and sky fortresses. Breach hives have a series of walls that can be burned by walking through them. Each wall destroyed will increase the number of monsters in the encounter, which can be started in the center. Skyhives are a new area which the breach lords have constructed fortresses that you will need to assail. Skyhives contain a challenging multi-wave encounter in which you will need to defeat Aelith while she closes the domain. Defend Aelith. Aelith will gain a series of abilities that she can be triggered during the encounter with various effects. Fortresses are a new area with a pair of bosses, Tull and Esh. Defeating Tull and Esh will give you a key to access the existing Breach Pinnacle boss. Ritual also got a new storyline. Ulf lingers in a restless pit, bound to the wild pool, searching for one who might answer her call. The King of the Mist has claimed her flesh, leaving her soul adrift, untethered and unable to pass beyond. She believes that only by reclaiming what was taken can she be made whole once more. Find out at... There's not a link for that. There's a new hub called Kirtarth to the west of your starting location. The Atlas, the maps around this location all contain ritual encounters. Completing these maps can give you points to your tree. The Ritual Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes, existing changes. After completing the Ritual Altar encounter, a map locus will point the next way to the next altar. All items in the Endgame Ritual reward screen are now either uniques or omens. They took away all the other stuff. Any tribute not spent on rewards can be sacrificed to gain audience with the king. Killing the King in the Mist now drops a key, the head of the king. This key can be used in Kirtarth to begin the Rite of the Nameless. The Rite of the Nameless is a new Atlas mechanic in which you choose a series of 5 maps to complete a single continuous ritual. The monsters in each ritual, including the map boss, will reappear in each map in a sequence, making for a very challenging encounter. The unique bosses from each map will only appear in the final ritual map. While choosing maps for the Rite of the Nameless, each map after the first will contain extra modifiers which affect the difficulty and rewards of the rite rituals during the rite. Each map in the Rite of the Nameless awards one element of the key used to access the ritual pinnacle boss. The Queen of the Mists, available after allocating a specific node on the Atlas tree, is a new boss. This boss can drop 3 new corrupted idols. Freythorn rituals now prevented from showing their deferred items to ensure items are not lost if returning to this area on a higher level character. Fate of the Vaal moving to core. Not exactly excited about this one, to be perfectly honest. I didn't really like the Vaal temples. I thought they were kind of a poopy mechanic. I understood why people liked them. I understood how broken they were and how you could get like a trillion, billion, zillion items from them and like divines and all sorts of other things like mirrors. I think they're just a terrible mechanic in general. Fate of the Vaal has been added to the core game. You first encounter a series of 6 ancient beacons. Act 3 energize them to attain a crystals to open the portal to Vaal ruins. You encounter a second set of 6 ancient beacons in the interludes. There is now an Atlas passive tree for the Fate of the Vaal League mechanic. At Ziri's Temple can now be found on the Atlas to the northeast of your starting location in the city of Vaal. Maps inside the city of Vaal always have energized crystals and grant pools for the Fate of the Vaal Atlas passive tree. There is also a temple precursor tablet which guarantee the Vaal beacons in your map if you want to focus on this league. It is no longer possible to prevent a room from being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted but have other connections will be turned into simple path rooms that prevent the snake strategy. The number of rooms in the temple when first starting has increased to allow getting at Ziri more quickly. Rooms can now be upgraded to Tier 4 after unlocking this ability on the Temple Atlas tree. This allows more specialization in particular room types and encourages more interesting temple layouts. Reward rooms granted from the console after defeating the architect have been significantly improved, with more varieties to unlock in addition to upgrading the rewards of the existing ones. Restricted rooms in Aziri's temple are accessible, will always destabilize upon exiting the temple. Aziri's temple medallions now have their drop rate scaled with the number of paths in the temple, in addition to the rooms previously on only other rooms. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside an active temple. Room-based medallions now display and upgrade information when hovered. Medallions now output descriptive error messages when they cannot be placed. The default maximum number of energized crystals you can store has been increased to 60. The maximum number of medallions has been increased to 6. The medallions that can increase the number of stored energized crystals or medallions are no longer necessary. The monster level of the temple now factors in the level of the areas where the crystals used to open it were obtained. The corruption chamber temple bonuses have been updated to add monster modifiers chance instead of additional modifiers. Portals created in the Temple Aziri now create a corresponding portal in the parent Vaal ruins for ease of access. Vaal beacons can now show a grayed out icon on the minimap when completed. There are now 4 types of infusers. Existing Vaal infusers are now Vaal armor infusers, which can now be applied to armor. Vaal blacksmith infusers can be applied to martial weapons, while Vaal arcanist infusers can be applied to wands, staves, and scepters. Vaal catalyzing infusers can now be applied to jewelry. All infusers can only be used on items at or above 20% quality. Fate of the Vaal currency items now have a maximum stack of 5,000 when stored in the wildcard slots of the currency tab. Some of the possible outcomes from applying Vaal cultivation orbs on unique items have been updated. The Aziri's rule staff can now roll 10 to 20% increased life cost efficiency, previously 20 to 40. The Aziri Splendor unique body armor can now roll 66 to 100 maximum energy, previously 100 to 200. The Covenant unique body armor can now roll 10 to 25% increased life cost efficiency, previously 25 to 50. Hayforge unique gauntlets can now roll 16 to 30 maximum rage if you use the skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds, previously 8 to 12, another buff to glory. I don't like glory. Rat Pith Globe Unique Focus can now roll 8 to 15% life cost efficiency. The Shackles of the Wretched Unique Gloves can no longer roll elemental ailments other than freeze you inflict at reflected at you, instead of being able to roll 10 to 15% increased damage per curse on you. The Vertex Unique Helmet can no longer roll plus 2 to 4 all skill gem levels, instead now being able to roll 3 to 5 level of all cursed skill gems. Abyss. There are now large abyss cracks on the Atlas. Completing the Atlas abysses will close them and always give you abyssal depths with a boss fight. The Abyssal Atlas tree has been revamped with many new nodes and changes to existing nodes. Kulamok's invitation is now always allocated to the map owner. Abyss omens will no longer drop in areas below level 65. Modifiers to the number of chests found now apply to chests found in the abyss. These also apply to chances to find an abyssal depth, so the chances to find abyssal depths does not decrease with more chests in the area. Adjusted the damage of meteoric demise. Abyss modifiers, lithomantic runes from the lithomantic rune abyss monster modifier are now active after a longer delay. Expedition League has been temporarily disabled on the standard leagues due to the integration with the Runes of Aldlar. This will be reintegrated into the standard after the Runes of Aldlar is over. The Recombinator has been disabled. The Omen of Recombination has been removed. Existing Omens of Recombination will be deleted upon logging in. The Forgotten by Time Precursor Tablet has been temporarily disabled. Expedition Explosives now wait to explode until most of the monsters unearthed by the previous explosive have been killed. You can now use your currency from your stash to purchase items from the Expedition vendors. Other endgame changes. With the introduction of the new endgame storyline, the Atlas has been reset. Your existing tablets and waystones will continue to work, so you can continue progressing as normal, but in order to gain points for the Atlas tree, you will need to do the Origins of the Divinity storyline. Added support for searching for the endgame Atlas maps. You can now zoom out slightly further on the Atlas screen, thank God. There are now 2 versions of each Pinnacle boss, the quest version and the infinite farm version. As such, the primary and secondary tertiary calamity fragments can no longer be obtained. Tablets of the same type may now be used together to increase the amount of league content that is spawned. The specifics of this are different for each content type. In some cases, multiple tablets will increase the size of a single encounter, while other cases it will increase the number of encounters spawned. Each tablet slot now contributes to the amount of random non-tablet spawned league content in the area. This means that if all tablet slots are full, you will only see the league content from the tablets you are using. The intent of this change is to make sure that you do not need to complete the Atlas tree for leagues that you do not intend to run. Waystones must now be identified in order to activate them in the map device. You can now use Orbs of Chance on tablets. Okay. Some items and content now require you to specialize an item through Atlas passive skills, and including exceptional items, fracturing orbs, basic and overseer precursor tablets. Tablets can no longer be used on maps that cannot have extra content, such as unique maps. League-specific tablets can no longer drop from non-map areas, such as Simacrum, Abyss Depths, Twisted Domain. Lowered the chances for essences, Asmari Spirits, Shrines, Strongboxes, Summoning Circles, Rogue Exiles appearing in maps somewhat due to the much larger increase now available in the Atlas tree. Atlas passives reference maps. Powerful bosses now work with Overseer precursor tablets and sources of the map. Powerful map bosses. Adjusted the values of the precursor tablet modifiers to be similar, the same type of bonuses granted by the Waystone. Modifiers also reduce the roll variance of these modifiers. The following modifiers can no longer roll on Waystones: Barons, Beastly, Brambled, Durianis, Enervating, Feridunes, Hollowed, and of Nemesis, Perennials, Rusted, and Sacrificial. Whether a modifier or a suffix is a suffix or a prefix has been adjusted that generally prefixes are modifiers that affect a monster output toward the player, and suffixes are modifiers that add a player or monster defense. The following suffix modifiers are now prefixes: of destruction, of fleeting, of impact, of penetrating, of puncturing, of shattering, of splitting, and of venom. And the following prefix modifiers are now suffixes: buffering, enduring, enfeebling, eroding, evasive, flaming, hex-warded, shocking, sleet, and snowing. The overpowering Waystone modifier no longer causes monsters to have increased freeze buildup, shock chance, or inflict increased flammability magnitude. It now causes monsters to have increased elemental ailment application. Waystone modifier bonuses have been updated, and they now provide more monster effectiveness, pack size, item rarity, monster rarity, Waystone drop stands. Depending on the modifier, these modifiers are multiplicative with other sources, such as those found on the Atlas passive tree. Modifiers to pack size now also provide a chance for additional rare monsters to appear in the rare monster packs. Monster rarity is a new stat available that affects the chances of magic and rare monsters and the chance for additional modifiers on rare monsters. Map modifiers that include sources increase the number of rare monsters or increased number of magic monsters have been updated to only display the number of the map and not also displayed amongst the explicit modifiers. That is not a functional change. Have the bonus of to the quantity of item dropped and experience gained provided by increased monster effectiveness, such as from Adzeri's Temple. The functionality of the Omen of Chaotic Rarity, the Omen of Chaotic Quantity, the Omen of Chaotic Monsters have been inverted. Instead of guaranteeing the new modifier are their type, they instead prevent the modifiers from being their type. Added the new Omen of Chaotic Effectiveness. While this item is active in your inventory, your next Chaos Orb will replace modifiers of the Waystone with modifiers that do not grant monster effectiveness. Up to 3 of the above omens may be used simultaneously. Half of the damage's extra buffs granted from the following shrines: Freezing Shrine, Gloom Shrine, Meteoric Shrine, and Tempest Shrine. Completion of fixed locations on the Atlas is now shared with party members. With the addition of more varied content on the Atlas map, of size content indicators has been increased by 50%. Waystones have received a new 2D art. Campaign replayability. In order to improve the experience for players to replay through each new league, we've added elements to multiple campaigns and areas that tell you where to go. If you know what to look for. You can see some examples in this video. I took a look at it. It's things like footprints on the ground, clues, essentially. Some areas throughout the game have been shortened to remove the second Dreadnought area, the Dreadnought Vanguard. The Act 2 boss is now in the Dreadnought. Area order in Act 3 has been somewhat rearranged in order to make progression smoother. That's actually nice. I think Act 3 was always kind of wonky. The waterway levers have been turned into pressure pads that you simply need to walk over, and the final part of the level has the level water pre-drained. Monster density is half of the campaign. Monster density in the second half of the campaign has been reduced, especially in the interludes, to allow getting through these areas more quickly. Player changes. Bleed damage on players is no longer increased while the player is moving. This change does not affect bleeds players apply to monsters. Your maximum runic ward is now added to your starting honor when beginning a trial of the Sekimas. That's nice. The defenses keyword is no longer used. Existing use of the defenses now explicitly refer to armor, evasion, energy shield. To make it more clear, these modifiers do not apply to runic ward, resistances, block, or other forms of protection. This is purely a description change. I like description changes to make things more clear. That is very good. Only a single leech instance per resource, life, mana, or energy shield, can apply at a time. When multiple leech instances are active, only one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires, after which the next highest recovery rate instance will apply. I have no clue how that's going to work. Your brain is spaghetti? It's a good game. You should try. I think it's worth your time. There is now a limit of the maximum amount of damage that can hit to be considered a deal-free leech. Hits that deal less than 40,000 total damage are unaffected, but if a hit would deal more than 40,000 total damage, it is treated as dealing only 40,000 damages for the purposes of leech calculation. The values of each damage type in the hit are scaled down evenly to reach this limit. This means that extremely high damage hits stop improving leech past a certain point, but increasing your leech percentage will always increase the amount of resource you are gaining. So they actively nerfed how leech functions because some people have ridiculously high damage, and because they have such ridiculously high damage, you can get good leech with ridiculously small numbers. But they're basically capping off how the leech works so that your damage isn't the main form of determining how much leech you're getting, but the leech percentage is how much you're getting. So leech percentage is more important than leech damage in the way that they have the formula calculated, if that makes sense. The formula for chance to deflect has been adjusted to provide better scaling with investment into deflection rating. Nice. With a cap of 95% chance to deflect, similar to chance to evade being capped at 95%. That's good. The new chance to deflect is 1. It's a formula. I'm going to copy and paste that for later. Parry, shield, block, and resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. What does that mean? I'm going to be using parry this season. Parry, shield block, resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. I think they're talking about on you. And I think the problem is that like when you parry, it causes the heavy stun buildup to not decay. That's actually a really good change, I think. I think that's a very good change. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. Some attacks create multiple damaging areas during use. For example, Whirling Assault creates multiple damaging areas as you move. When minions are removed due to resources changing, such as weapon swapping, younger, newer minions are now prioritized for removal over older minions to avoid wasting minion cooldown abilities unnecessarily. Minions affected by last grab support of Tekrod's Revenge, lineage support, or totems affected by unnamed Heartwood Oracle notable passive can no longer die during the effect from taking damage exceeding their maximum life. Stats worded as when you collect a Remnant no longer give you benefits of these stats when an ally shares the effects of the Remnant with you. Updated the name of the buff of Trinity grants to Affinity. Updated the name of the buff that Trinity grants to Affinity, as Resonance is the name of the Keystone passive skill. This is purely a description update. Archon buffs no longer inherently are lost when you attack. This is now a property of Elemental Archon specifically. New content and features. Okay, so we got like all the new lineage supports, all the new uniques. Of course, we don't have any information on any of them, but you know, whatever. Introduce new martial artist ascendancy class for the monk. After decades of training, the martial artist has become a master of the illusions. Empowered by the rune socketed into his body, the class creates powerful illusions, summons illusionary bells to aid him, and excels at using his hands as weapons. Introduce the new Spirit Walker Ascendancy class for the Huntress. Bound to the wilds, this class calls upon the spirits to answer her will, granting different abilities aligning with the stag, owl, or bear. Through her guidance, the Spirit Walker may subdue even the most formidable beasts, binding them in spirit, or call forth a spectral companion to fight by her side. We've got tons of new lineage supports. We've got Arbiter's Reach, Reach Lord's Amalgam, Katha's Brilliance. These are like special support gems that do really cool things. Anar's Thunder, they're kind of like uniques. Esh's Prowess, Helbram's Hide, we don't know anything about them though. Her Declaration, Medved's Felling, Morgan's Insight, Prototype 17, Seraph's Heart, Stern's Ferocity, Stern's Mountain, Tang Mazu's Thurible, Trickster's Shard, Tull's Avalanche, Uthrid's Constellation, Uthrid's Right, Varana's Siege, Vrun's Inevitability, and Vrun's Aftermath. And then we've got tons of new unique items too. Like, holy crap, that's a lot of new uniques. Barrack's Grip, Barrack's Pass, Barrack's Respite, Brutus Lead Sprinkler, Cat of Nine Tails, Decree of Acuity, Decree of Flight, Decree of Loyalty, Duality, Eventide Petals, Eyes of the Runefather, Facebreaker. A lot of people are excited about that one. They actually have a video on that one if you want to check it out. Pharaoh's Gift, Forgotten Warden, Joffrey's Sanctuary, Gate Crasher, Horror's Flight, Ironbound, Liminal Coil, Lore Weave. They got Mageblood in here, which people are excited from Path of Exile 1. Master Domain, Nightfall, Opportunity, Redemption, Periphery, Sadist Mercenary, Cyril's Grit, Spiteful Floret, Split Personality, Surge of the Tide, Sylvan's Effigy, the Auspex, which got a big workover. The Hollow Mask also got a big workover. The Ordained, the Raven Flock, Sunken Vessel, the Unleashed, Twisted Empyrean, Vestige of Darkness, Veil Piercer, and Voices. Added 8 new idols that come exclusively from the monsters possessed by Asmari spirits. Those are actually pretty cool. Added the new Minion Splash and Minion Splash 2 strength support gems. These support skills create minions which strike, causing the minion strikes to have melee splash. The Fragment Stash tab is now available for use in Path of Exile 2. It can hold your fragments, including Breach Splinters, Macrums, Audience with the King, Inscribe Ultimatums, Bararias, as well as tablets. If you previously purchased one in Path of Exile, it will automatically be made available to you once the 0.5 patch is deployed. For those without a Fragment Stash tab, you'll be able to find the Stash tab section in the microtransaction store after 0.5 goes live. Added support for the build guides. Community creators who write build guides can now create build files for players to download, basically giving you a whole guide that you can follow. Added the ability to quickly search the trade market with an item you have. Shift, Alt, clicking an item will populate the filters for the search trade market so you can see the current prices for rare items. You can enable and disable each modifier to easily determine the effect each one has on the item's price. In party play, you can now quickly revive any fallen party member after defeating the boss. You can now skip dialogue sequences with NPCs by pressing escape. Added a reforging bench to the entrance of the Trial of Secamus. Continued to incrementally improve the sound, art, and environmental effects. Ascendancy changes. The Into the Breach skill granted by the Waking Dream notable passive skill now grants 20%, leech 20% of your maximum life to you when collecting a red flame of Chayula, previously 15. The leech 20% of your maximum life to for the blue one is now 20% mana instead of previously 15. The wording of the Into the Breach skill has also been updated to clarify your behavior ranges related to the flames of Chayula. Into the Breach now also applies modifiers to the Remnants pickup range to the range at which the flames of Chayula can be seen. This is purely a visual change. Oh man. Dry throat. Blood Mage. The Vitality Siphon notable passive skill now grants 20% of spell damage least as life, previously 10. Chronomancer. The Rapid River notable passive has been removed. Its position has been taken by Now and Again. The Now and Again notable passive skill has been reworked. It now grants cascadable spells have a 20% chance to echo, and repeatable spells have a 20% chance to repeat. Unbound Core notable passive skills has taken the previous position of Now and Again, and the Ultimate Command notable passive skill now requires Unbound Encore. Added a new Phased Form notable passive skill, Preceding Footprints in the Sand. Phased Form takes 30% less damage, and 4 seconds after being damaged by an enemy hit, take damage equal to 30% of that hit's damage. The Temporal Rift skill granted by the Footprints of the Sand notable passive skill has been updated. It now has a cast time of 0.1 seconds, previously 0.5, and now also removes delayed damage from the phased form. The Inevitable Agony skill granted by the Inevitability Notable Passive skill has been reworked. It is no longer a curse and has a 2-second cooldown. The debuff is now has a life cost instead of secondary hit damage, and the debuff amount is now displayed on static health bars. The debuff also now instantly culls enemies when total life loss reaches culling strike threshold. Now grants debuff targets lose life equal to 25% of hit damage dealt to them, while the debuff previously 50%. Enemy curse effectiveness no longer applies to the skill, meaning unique enemies have the same effectiveness as previous, while other enemies have less. Debuff duration is now 12 seconds. Quality grants 0.5 meters to initial cast radius. Previously, Curse Zone erupts after 10%. Reduced delay. The skill has also received new visuals. I have no clue how that works. I don't think I've ever even used that ability. Huh. Inevitable Agony. The Sands of Time buff granted by the Quicksand Hourglass Notable Passive now grants 1 to 60% increased skill speed, previously cast speed, and has also new visual effects. The Gemling Legionnaire, the Crystalline Potential Notable Passive has been removed. Added a new notable passive, Enhance Essence of Virtue. This grants the Virtuous Barrier skill, which while active conjures a glittering barrier that accumulates protective gemstone motes of each attribute type over time, but loses a random mote when you are hit. The Advanced Thaumaturgy Notable Passive skill no longer grants the Thaumaturgical Dynamism skill, which is the one that gives you charges. It instead now grants gem quality, grants socketed skills, and additional effect. All gems in the game now have an additional quality stat that can be seen while holding Alt on the gem after picking the notable. There's actually a video on this, and I kind of want to check it out probably after we're done reading. The Pathfinder, the Overwhelming Toxicity Notable Passive skill grants 50% less poison duration, previously 35%. The Running Assault Notable Passive skill now grants 30% less movement speed penalty from using skills while moving, previously 50. Witch Hunter, Obsessive Rituals now grant 50% less armor and evasion rating, previously 35%. Passive Tree Changes. I knew that one was going to be long. Scroll. Added 19 new companion theme passive skills, 9 new life recoup speed passive skills. Added a new Archon of Undeath cluster to the Witch Sorceress passive tree. The Ancestral Bond Keystone passive skill now causes placing totems to have no cost and require consuming charges to place it. It causes totems to reserve 75 spirit each and now doubles the totem limit instead of removing it completely. The Trusted Kinship Keystone passive now grants 30% more reservation efficiency of companion skills and 20% less reservation efficiency of non-companion skills. It no longer provides the 30% less defenses, or the companions have +1 to each defense for every 2 of that defense that you have. The Vaal Pact Keystone passive now grants 50% more amount life leeched, 67% less life leech speed. Cannot recover life other than from leech. And the life leech effects are not removed from unreserved life if filled. It no longer provides life leeches instant and cannot use life flasks. The Reform Barrier cluster has been removed. The Warding Fetish cluster moved locations and no longer connects to a jewel socket. The Storm Charge and Breaking Point cluster is no longer connects to a jewel socket. The Adamant Recovery Notable Passive has been replaced with Fortified Aegeus, which grants 100% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield from equipped shield. The Arcane Mixtures Notable Passive now grants 10% increased cast speed if you used a Mana Flask recently instead of 25% energy shield recharge rate. The Bastion of the Fortress Notable Passive now grants 10% faster energy shield recharge rate, previously 15%. The Casting Cascade Notable Passive that grants 6% increased cast speed for each different spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds, previously 4. The Chakra of Breathing Notable Skill passive now grants 20% faster start of energy shield instead of 1% increased energy shield rate per 4 dexterity. The Commanding Rage Notable passive now grants 2% increased minion attack speed per 5 rage, previously 1. 1% per rage. So a nerf. 2% per 5 instead of 1% per 1, I think. The Convalescence Notable Passive skill grants 20% faster recharge rate, previously 40, 10% reduced energy shield reset to recharge rate, previously 15. The Core of the Guardian notable passive now grants 30% increased block chance instead of 20% reduced maximum energy shield. Previously, 100% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield from equipped shield. Covering Ward notable passive now grants 25 energy shield when you block, previously 20, and 12% increased chance to block, and it no longer grants 25% increased energy shield recharge rate. The Craving Slaughter notable passive now provides 15 maximum rage if you use a skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds, previously 8, in the past 6 seconds, up to 5 times. The Critical Overload notable passive skill now provides 15% increased critical spell damage bonus. Previously 15% increased if you dealt a critical recently. Cunning Fox notable skill passive replaced the Quick Fox, which grants 20% increased deflection rating while moving. The Small All attribute passive prior to the notable now grants 20% increased evasion rating while moving. Deadly Force notable passive provides 15% increased critical hit chance, previously 10, 15% increased damage if you dealt a critical hit past 8 seconds, previously 25. The Dependable Ward notable passive now grants 8% chaos resistance and 12% faster start of energy shield, previously 25. The Devoted Protector notable passive grants 10% faster start of energy shield. Echoing Pulse notable passive now grants 25% increased area of effect. No longer grants final repeat of spells, 30% increased area effect, which did not function. A lot of the times I read these, and they're small changes, but they start to make a picture. And the picture that I'm starting to see here is nerfs to energy shield. Like, across the board, there are nerfs to leeching, and there are nerfs to energy shield, both. And it seems like a lot of these are literally just nerfs to energy shield and nerfs to leeching. A lot of them, actually. I don't know why energy shield is getting nerfed, but it looks like energy shield is getting nerfed. I mean, across the board, like, they're reducing the faster start of energy shield, which seems to be one of the main things they're focusing on, is faster start of energy shield recharge rate, as well as some of the other bonuses that have to do with energy shield. They're just all getting like nuked into the dirt. Effervescent notable passive grants 4% increased cast speed for each spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds. The Energizing Archon notable passive now grants 30% increased Archon duration instead of 40% increased energy shield recharge rate. What do you know? Energizing Deflection notable passive now grants 12% faster start of energy shield recharge instead of 30% increased energy shield recharge rate. Again, another nerf to the energy shield recharge rate. Essence Infusion notable passive now grants 12% of energy shield recharge and 12 intelligence. It no longer grants 40% energy shield recharge rate. Fast Metabolism notable passive now grants 40% increased damage while leeching. Another leech nerf. Previous life leech effects are not removed while unreserved life is filled. Fortifying Blood notable passive now grants 15% increased amount of life leeched, previously 20. The Goring notable passive no longer grants 40% increased physical damage, and it now grants 3% increased maximum life and 20% increased amount of life leech, previously 3% reduced maximum life and 30% increased life leech. Another nerf to life leech. Immortal Infamy notable passive now grants 6% life recovery rate instead of 10% increased energy shield recharge rate. Another nerf to energy shield. Lifelong Friend of the Nurturing Guardian notable passive has swapped positions. The Mystic Stance notable passive now grants 12% faster energy shield recharge rate, previously 30. Another nerf to energy shield. The Patient Barrier notable passive now grants 50% increased maximum energy shield, previously 60. Another nerf to energy shield. Quick Response notable passive now grants 10% faster energy shield recharge rate, previously 20, and 20% faster start of energy shield recharge while not on full life, previously 30. Another nerf to energy shield. The Rapid Recharge notable passive now grants 12% start of energy shield recharge and 12% increased energy shield recharge, both previously 25. Another nerf to energy shield. Say it with me, guys. The Refocus notable passive now grants 20% increased mana regeneration while stationary instead of 30% increased energy shield recharge rate. Say it with me, guys. Another nerf to energy shield. The Shattering Palm notable passive now provides 20% increased critical damage, previously 10% to daze. The Shimmering notable passive now grants 10% faster energy shield recharge rate and 20% increased evasion if you've been hit recently. No longer grants 20% energy shield recovery rate if you haven't been hit recently. Another nerf to energy shield. The Staggering Palm notable passive now has 25% increased physical damage and previously 20%, and now provides 10% chance to daze instead of 20% critical damage bonus. The Storm Charge notable passive now provides damage penetrates 8% of elemental resistances, 5% increased attack speed at elemental skills. It no longer provides 50% increased critical hit chance and 40% increased elemental damage if you dealt a crit recently. The Tempered Mind notable passive now provides 15% increased effective fully broken armor, previously 20% critical bonus damage. The Voracious notable passive no longer grants 20% life leech. It now grants 15% increased attack speed while leeching. The Wide Barrier notable passive now grants 30% increased block chance and 20% reduced armor, previously 25% reduced defenses. The Wyvern Breath notable passive has been updated and now provides 40% elemental ailment application if you have shapeshifted into an animal form recently. This now also applies to freeze buildup, but it is otherwise identical. The first two spell damage passives at the starting area of the passive tree for the Witch and Sorceress now have 10% increased spell damage instead of 8. Small passive skills that grant start a faster energy shield now have values of 6%, previously 15. Say it with me, folks. Another nerf to energy shield. Small passive skills that grant energy shield recharge rate have been removed from the passive tree and replaced by faster start of energy shield recharge rate at a lower value. Another nerf to energy shield. Small passive skills with a 10% increased amount of life leech now have values of 8. Another nerf to life leech. Small banner area of effect passive skills now have 12% increased banner area effect, previously 15. Small banner area tactician passives now provide 16% increased area of effect, previously 20. The unsavored feast timeless jewel notable no longer grants 20% leech if you have at least 200 tribute. It now grants 35% faster if you have at least 100 tribute, previously 25. Okay, skill changes. This is where we get to the meat and potatoes of things. And throat's all dry. Damn dry throat. Much better. Alright, skills with a fixed number of projectiles, such as Glacial Lance, can now benefit from effects that cause projectile count modifiers to apply to something else instead, such as the Ricochet 3 supports. Skills which have a cost of 0 mana now display this cost. This allows players to distinguish between skills like default attacks, which do not have a cost at all and thus are unaffected by any cost modifiers, from those which do have a base cost, but which is a 0 base value, which are affected by plus cost modifiers, even if they add different resource costs, like adding a life cost to a skill with a base cost of 0. Crossbow ammunition skills now have a base cost of 0 rather than having their cost be completely disabled, meaning that effects that add additional costs will now apply to them. Ignites inflicted on targets by oil ground that have been ignited can no longer compound and cannot be compounded by other ignites from the same skill use. All command skills now have 50% movement speed penalty during use, previously 70. The buff. Align Fate, granted by Oracle's Fateful Vision, notable passive now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate, also apply to Visage appearance frequency. Ancestral Warrior Totem no longer has a hidden 0.6 delay between skill uses. Instead, this delay is now 50% of the skill's attack time and is described accordingly on the skill. Bone Storm no longer has the sustained tag. Bone Shatter quality now grants 20% increased attack speed, previously 30. Comet now deals 318 at gem level 11, previously 335, so a little bit of a nerf there. At level 20, 1,181, previously 1,243, so a slight nerf to Comet. Call of the Week now can't be evaded. Now deals 109 to 281% of attack damage, previously at levels 3 to 220. So 281, so it looks like it went up. Attack speed is now 75% of base, previously 60, and it now has a mana cost of 42 at gem level 20, previously 46, so they brought down the mana. Maximum dash range has been increased by 15%. Defiance Banner, Dread Banner, and War Banner no longer have movement speed penalty during use, and now the banner's area radius is 6 meters, previously 4.5. I can't use the banners. Every time I try, they freaking suck. Earthquake, Aftershock now does 666% of damage at level 20. Now it's 580, so a bit of a nerf. Tiny bit of a nerf there. It's actually kind of a big nerf, not going to lie. Eternal Rage can no longer be activated in specific weapon sets. It is now required to be activated in both weapon sets and will fail to activate if this is not possible. Feral Invocation no longer bypasses the cooldown of socketed skills. Flame Breath now has an energy gain penalty similar to Incinerate. Fortifying Cry now only consumes 1 stack when you detonate a shield wall to create a shockwave around each shield wall segment. Fortifying Cry shockwaves from a single shield wall cannot hit the same enemy multiple times. Shield Wave now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor, previously 6 to 7. So a 1-point nerf on the per armor, which is actually pretty huge. That's kind of crazy. Fragmentation rounds quality now grants 2 fragments per shot, previously 20% physical damage. Freezing Salvo now has 68% more magnitude chill inflicted, previously 107. So a little bit of a nerf to the chill inflicted from Freezing Salvo. Gathering Storm now causes perfectly timed dash to explode any Tempest spell on hit, creating a massive shockwave that deals 869% attack damage at gem level 20. Shock ground is left in the wake of the Tempest Shockwave previously on Perfect Dash with a radius of 3.2 meters, turning the precise timing into a devastating area clearing combo. Perfect timing shockwaves can now only hit enemies once per skill use and no longer interact with objects by non-Tempest spell skills. Shockwave limit is now 50. The quality now grants 20% longer perfect timing window, previously 8% maximum shockwaves per use. Ghost Dance, the interval between gaining Ghost Shrouds is no longer iteration. It has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate and also apply to Ghost Shroud gain frequency. It also has win hit, lose a Ghost Shroud, and regenerate energy shield equal to 2% of your evasion per second if you have lost a Ghost Shroud recently. Grim Feast, Grim Resurrection now has 1 second cooldown. Ice Shot, Ice Shards no longer have a 25% more freeze buildup. Ice Strike, quality now gains 20% increased attack speed, previously 10% more. Lightning Arrow, multiple lightning beams are no longer able to chain on the same target. Lunar Blessing, triggered moonbeams are no longer considered melee skills. Magma Barrier now deals 5 to 7 added fire damage per 15 armor, previously 6 to 8. Why they nerf Magma Barrier too, little freaking turds? Little dirty freaking turd hose. Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye can now be used with channeled skills, including Snipe, Plasma Blast, and Detonating Arrow. Mirror of Refraction, granted by Adziri's Rule Unique Staff, now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate to apply mirror appearance frequency. Oil Barrage, mana cost has been reduced by 18%, and Powered Oil Barrage now has a mana cost per second equivalent to the initial mana cost of Oil Barrage. Oil Barrage now has 10% more damage at all levels, while Empowered Oil Barrage now has 10% less damage at all levels. Empowered Oil Barrage consumes a power charge every 1.5 seconds to continue channeling, previously every 2. Parry. I'm gonna screenshot this one. My character is gonna be based on parry this season, so. Parry area of effect has been changed to more closely match its animation. I don't know if that's good or bad. No longer has bonus attack distance. What does that mean? They nerfed my character because I was playing it. Poison Burst Arrow. Poison duration is now 3 seconds of all gem levels, previously 3 to 4.9 seconds at gem levels 1 to 20. Quality now grants 10% more magnitude of poison inflicted, previously 20%. Pounce has no cooldown, 6 to 5.1 seconds at gem level 3 to 20, previously 4.9 to 4 at gem level 20, 3 to 20. Ravenous Swarm now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to the swarm spawning frequency. Rend, to fix the bug where Lightning Charge Rend was scaling twice with levels. The base damage has been increased to compensate to 4 or 5% attack damage at level 20, previously 586. Resonating Shield now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor, previously 6 to 8, another nerf to the shield skills. Rolling Magma now chains 3 times at gem level 1, previously 2, scaling up to 5 chain gems level at 20, previously 4. Shattering Spite, granted by Adziri's Contempt Unique Spear, now has 50% less magnitude of damaging ailments you inflict. No longer has Life Leech from explosions with at least 15 Blood Lances as instant. Shield Wall now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor, previously 6 to 8. Another nerf to the shield skills. Shred, quality now grants 20% increased attack speed, previously 10. Snipe now deals 312% attack damage, previously 343, a little bit of a nerf there. Now deals 1,449 of attack damage at gen level 20, previously 1,358, so another little nerf there. Looks like they just kind of nerfed it across the board. Tiny little buff to the Icy Blast. Spell Totem can now be used while moving, has received an updated animation. Supercharged Slam now more clearly states has been fixed attack time that cannot be modified. This is purely a description change. Tame Beast, Summoned Beast now deal 40% more damage at gem level 9, scaling up to 84% at gem level 20. Now immediately summons new Tame Beast if you have enough spirit. Tempest Bell can now be ancestrally boosted as if it were a strike skill. And its maximum number of active bells has been increased to 3. Previously 1, greatly improving its combo potential. Its Shockwave now deals 118% attack damage, previously 132, and can now trigger once every 0.3 seconds instead of once every 0.25. Toxic Growth now fires 5 pustules, previously 4, with a limit of 5 pustules, previously 12. Quality now grants fires +1 pustule and limit +1 pustule, previously +2 and +2. Thrashing Vines, updated description to clarify how frequently spawns vines. This is not a functional change. Time of need, interval between blessings is no longer a duration. It now has modifiers of cooldown recovery also apply to blessing frequency. Interval has been reduced to 9.3 to 8.1 seconds at gem levels 8 to 20, previously 11.3 to 10.1. The Volcano now has a base critical hit chance of 8%, previously 5. Rolling Assault quality now grants 20% increased attack speed, previously 15. Wing Blast Shockwave deals 25% more damage at all levels. Support gems. How big is the support gem section? Not as big as I thought. Unleash, Expand, Salvo, Freezing supports all use the same concept of seals instead of each having their own version. This means standardized rules for seals will be consistent in all cases, resulting in some behavior changes. Supports granting seals now consistently all have the seal category. Freezing Salvo and Salvo support previously had an extra restriction that relevant skill could not gain seals while you were performing that skill. This is no longer the case, bringing them into consistency with other seal mechanics. Salvo support previously gave a seal every 2 seconds up to a maximum of 3 and provided 2 projectiles per seal. It now gains a seal every 1 second up to a maximum of 6, providing 1 projectile per seal. Advancing Storm can now support any skill under any conditions rather than only spells you use yourself. Arjun's Metal now grants 25% chance to load a bolt into all crossbow skills on dealing killing blows with supported skills. Adzeres Impatience can no longer support persistent skills. Batir's Vengeance, when you freeze a target with supported skills, for each 2 rage you have, you and your allies' presence gain 1% damage as cold for 15 seconds. Previously, for each rage you have for up to 20 seconds. So they increased the duration. Oh no, for each 2 rage you have. So now it's previously... Oh, okay, so they nerfed it. Brink can now be cut as a level 1 support gem, previous level 2. Culmination no longer has combo count loss for supported skills, occurs 50% slower. It now has supported skills lose combo if you generate no combo for 6 seconds, previously 4. Supported skills can now gain up to 10 combo, previously 20, and supported skills now deal 4% more damage per combo. So they gave you more bells to drop, which requires more combo, but then drop the maximum combo, so you couldn't drop 3 bells at the same time. Corrupting Cry 2 no longer causes supported skill to inflict corrupted blood, but instead triggers a skill which inflicts corrupted blood, scaled by the level of the gem socketed in it. Decaying Hex no longer causes a supported curse to inflict decay. Instead, it triggers a skill which deflects decay scaled by the level of the gem it is socketed into. Dialia's Desire now grants 5% of quality of supported skills, previously 10. Deodare's Undoing no longer causes cursed ground created by supported skills to become hazards. Now causes cursed ground by supported skills to spawn witch toads on an interval which seeks out enemies and explodes, dealing chaos damage. Infernal Legion 1 now grants minions supported skills 10% of their maximum life as fire damage per second, previously 20. And minions from supported skills ignite enemies within a radius 1.5 meters as though dealing fire damage equal to 10% of the minion's maximum life, previously 20. Infernal Legion 2 also got the same treatment. Looks like the same exact downgrades. Infernal Legion 3 can no longer be obtained. Living Lightning no longer replaces minions when summoning a new one, which is already at maximum number of minions. Morgana's Tempest can now support any storm skill under any conditions, rather than only spells you use yourself. Overabundance 3 now properly describes that it cannot support persistent skills. Overextend can no longer be obtained. Existing items are unaffected by this change. Pakwet's Pact no longer causes a supported skill to inflict corrupted blood, but instead triggers a skill which inflicts corrupted blood. That's the same as the previous change. Rage 1, Rage 2, and Rage 3 can now support minion skills. Wrath's Assault now grants supported skills load 4 bolts when you dodge, previously 5. Supported skills load 3 additional bolts, previously 4. It gives you attack speed, previously 20%, now 10. So just nerfed across the board. Refraction 1 now additionally causes supported banner skills to grant allies deflection rating equal to 15% of their evasion rating. Refraction 2 now additionally causes supported banner skills to equal 20% of their evasion rating for deflection. Shock Conduction can no longer be obtained. Shock Conduction 2. Static Shock's updated description to clarify that it triggers from shocking hits. Uthgrid's Augury now grants +2 level supported skills if exactly 2 other supports are modifying them, previously 3. Uthgrid's Omen now grants +2 level supported skills if exactly 1 of the supporters modifying them, previously 3. Volt now grants supported skills gain 2 voltaic charge per meter traveled, previously 3. Supported skills now also gain 1% of damage as extra lightning per voltaic charge, previously 5% per 10. 1% per 1 instead of 5% per 10. That seems like a drastic increase. Just massive, massive increase. Tons of unique items. The unique items, my first instinct is honestly to kind of like gloss over them because most of them are bad changes. But with the ability this season to be able to upgrade the unique items to make them more useful, I'm kind of interested actually. I am. The Ab-Atero unique boots no longer grant 10% less movement speed and skill per dodge roll in the past 20 seconds. Now have 250% increased armor, energy shield, previously 150, and it now has your speed is unaffected by slows while sprinting, and gain over encumbrance for 4 seconds when you dodge roll. Existing versions of the unique can be updated to the new armor with a divine orb. The Apex Supremacy unique focus no longer has 50% faster start of energy shield recharge. Stay with me folks, another nerf to energy shield. The Ad Series City Acuity unique gauntlets has been reworked. They now grant 200% increased armor, 150 maximum life. Life Leech, 10% physical damage as life, and 10% physical damage dealt by your hits cause blood loss to the Vaal Pact. They also grant the Herald of the Royal Queen skill. Vaal Cultivation Orb outcomes of Ad Series Acuity have also changed. Existing items are not affected. The Sierran's Inherent's unique body armor now gets 30% increased energy shield recharge rate instead of 50% faster start of recharge. The Black Flame unique ring no longer has enemies ignited by you take chaos damage as fire from ignite. It now has Withered you inflict, also increases fire damage taken. Ignite you inflict deals chaos damage instead of fire damage, and Withered does not expire on enemies ignited by you. Additionally, it has 100% increased ignite magnitude, previously 50, and 75% reduced ignite duration on enemies, previously 50. Ignite magnitude and duration modifiers can be updated to the new values. Blistering Bond unique ring now has fire damage, also contributes to bleeding magnitude, and bleeding you inflict deals fire damage to physical damage instead of physical damage. In addition, it is to its other modifiers. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Brassdome unique body armor now has 600% increased armor, previously 8. Existing items can be updated to made worse. The Carnage Heart unique amulet has 50% increased damage while leeching. Now has 50% increased damage while leeching. The Chobber Chamber unique mace now has +2 to 3 level of all minion skills. The Death's Harp unique bow can now no longer has bow attacks fire 3 additional arrows. Instead, it has 330% surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow. Basically the same thing. Actually, a little bit better, I think. The Elevor unique helmet now grants charms gain 1 charge per second, previously 0.5, and now provides 2 charm slots, previously 1. Existing items can be buffed. The Eshtira's Path unique ring no longer has cold resistance, is unaffected by area penalties. It now has a 10% to fire and cold resistance per equipped item with lightning resistance modifier. Existing items are not changed. The Glowswarm unique ring now has using mana flask grants guard equal to 100% of the flask recovery amount for 4 seconds. The Hollow Mask unique helmet now grants Wildwood gift skill. There's a video on this one, where Asmari spirits offer guidance, allowing you to see nearby ancient blooms. They're basically remnants, allowing you to pick them up and gain 100% increased reservation efficiency of remnant skills. The Husk Dreams unique body armor has been renamed to Reverie. It no longer gives 30% increased flash charges gained or 50% less flash charges used. It now grants the Writer Restoration skill and has a non-unique flask apply their effects constantly. Okay, and also cannot use life flasks. Recovery from life flask cannot be instant. Recovery from life flask cannot be applied to anything other than you, as well as 60% of life flask recovery. Existing versions of this item cannot be attained these new modifiers. The Hire's Ire unique body armor has 150% increased evasion, previously 250, and 20% damage as extra cold, previously 25. It's a big nerf. The Keeper of the Ark unique helmet now has 340% increased armor, energy shield, previously 250. Levinstone unique ring now no longer has +1 level to all lightning skills, and now has lightning skills chain 1 time. Megalomaniac unique jewel now drops unidentified. The Plague Finger unique gloves now cannot inflict elemental ailments. The Prized Pain unique ring no longer deals thorns damage to your enemies you stun with melee attacks. It now has 15 to 25% chance to deal your thorns to enemies you hit with melee attacks. That's actually pretty good. Radiant Grief unique helmet now has enemies in your presence are ignited as though dealing 200 base fire, previously 100. Sapphire's Revolve unique ring has no longer has lightning resistance unaffected by area penalties. It now has 10% to cold and lightning resistance per equipped item in the fire resistance with the fire resistance modifier. Seed of Cataclysm unique ring no longer has 50% increased critical spell damage bonus. It now has 5% reduced critical spell damage bonus for spells dealt recently, and 30% chance for spell damage and critical hits to be lucky. The Sekima's Revolve unique rings have been renamed to Saphrina's Resolve, Zyda's Longevity, and Astera's Path. The Sin Aquio unique gloves now have 200% increased armor and evasion shield, previously 150. It no longer has enemies immobilized by you take 20% more damage, and instead now has the 50% increased damage against mobilized enemies. The Soul Mantle unique body armor no longer has 30% reduced totem life, and instead has 75 spirit. The Svalin unique shields cast on block skill has a supported skill cost nothing. This also has 100 runic ward. Okay. The Zyda's Longevity unique ring no longer has lightning resistance, is unaffected by area penalties. Now has 10% to fire and lightning resistance per equipped item with a cold resistance modifier. Existing items are not affected. The Zeref's Genesis unique belt no longer has 30% increased charm charges and 50% charges consumed by life flask. Skills from corrupted gems have 15 to 25% increased cost efficiency during any flask effect, and 50% increased corrupted charm effect duration in its addition to its other modifiers. Item changes. Greater and perfect currencies have been made somewhat rarer, with transmutation and augmentation being made significantly rarer. Greater orbs of transmutation and greater orbs of augmentation have now a minimum level modifier of 44, previously 55, making them more accessible, and they can now begin dropping in Act 4. Divine orbs are now more common. Okay. The corruption outcome that randomizes the numeric values of the modifiers on the item beyond the normal range now multiplies each modifier based on the current value instead of randomizing the value. Sanctifying an item now multiplies each modifier value based on the current value instead of randomizing values. Omen of Corruption can no longer be obtained. Martial weapons and flasks in the campaign are now more likely to be the highest base type available at that level. The overall number of essences found in the campaign has been increased, though the proportion of these being essences of the infinite have been slightly decreased. This will lead to finding more useful essences as you progress. The amount of armor granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% more armor, tampering down to about 15% more at level 80 plus. The amount of evasion granted by items, same thing, 15% more at the end game. The amount of energy granted by items is now roughly 8% more at level 65. unchanged at 80. Again, another nerf to energy shield. The Vaal robe base type now has 171 base energy shield, previously 184. Another nerf to energy shield. The base armor of existing items will be automatically adjusted, while armor modifiers on existing items can be updated. Increases the base weapon range of some martial base weapons. The one-handed maces have a base weapon range of 1.3, previously 1.1, and 1.5 for two-handed maces, previously 1.3, and 1.4 for quarterstaves, previously 1.3. Yeah, I mean, basically this right here might explain why all the shield skills got nerfed. So when I was looking earlier, all of the shield skills got nerfed. Their damage got decreased by like 1 point. Like instead of 6 to 8, it was now 5 to 7. And I was wondering why the hell they nerfed basically all the shield skills. But it turns out if this is correct, technically they didn't nerf anything, because that means that the armor of the shields increased, but then the damage of the shields decreased. It could end up a wash. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. The base armor of existing items will be automatically adjusted. The armor modifiers on existing items can be updated. Increases the Obliterator bow artillery base types now have 1.1 attacks per second, previously 1.15. The implicit armor modifier for Warden and Guardian bows now provides 35% chance to chain additional time instead of 30. The implicit modifiers for Rabid Fury and Magi Talismans 7 to 10 maximum rage, previously 8 to 12. I noticed that they're nerfing rage across the board too. That's one thing I did notice. It's like everywhere across the board that they could nerf rage. They were bringing rage down like a little bit here, a little bit there, like adjusting the nodes for rage. I mean, let's be honest. With the frickin' when the Druid came out, everybody was stacking rage like crazy. The implicit modifier for Voltfang and Thunder Talismans now provides 30% increased magnitude of shock to inflict, previously 25. Alternate quality items from Breach Catalyst now will be salvaged to return a portion of the catalyst used. The plus level to all melee skills modifiers on two-handed attack weapons now has a value of 5 at tier 1, previously 7. Same thing with projectiles. The plus level skills on the one-handed attack weapons now has a value of plus 4 at tier 1, previously tier plus 5. The plus level to all projectile skills modifiers, same thing. So it looks like they nerfed the plus to skills across the board. So two-handers went from plus 7 to plus 5. One-handers went from plus 5 to plus 4. The plus 2 level of projectile skills modifier on the quivers now has a value of 1. The plus level to all gems on attack weapons can now only roll above plus 18, level 18. Added surpassing chance to fire additional arrow modifier for quivers. That's kind of nice. The perfect essence of battle now only provides plus 3 level to all attack skills instead of previously plus 5 for weapons and crossbows, and only plus 2 level of all attack skills on one-handed melee weapons, previously plus 3. Essence of Hysteria now grants 23% increased energy shield recharge rates, previously 45. Body Runes now grant 60 maximum life, previously 40. Okay. Looks like a bunch of these got adjusted. In armor items, in energy shield items, previously 35. Grants Leech was 5%. Now, is 5%. Now it's, well, previously it was 3. They got these kind of like just red weird. Mind Rune is 40 maximum mana, previously 35. I mean, they look like buffs across the board, I can see. Rebirth Runes, 35 life from 30, so another buff. Inspiration Runes, also buffed. Stone Runes, looks like they were also buffed. Vision Runes, I wonder if they're doing this to compete with the other runes that they added, the new ones. Vision Runes, looks like that got buffed as well. Desert Runes got a 4% resistance increase. Glacial, 4% resistance. Storm, 4% resistance. 2 strength bonus on the Adept. 2 dex bonus on the... Oh, two strength bonus on the Robust. 2 dex bonus on the Adept. 2 intelligence bonus on the Resolve. Standard rune bonded modifiers now grant 20 life and 20 mana when socketed in armor items, previously 10/10. Lesser rebirth runes now grant 4% increased energy shield recharge rate when socketed in a wand or staff, previously 12. Rebirth runes grant 6% increased energy shield recharge rate when socketed in a wand or staff, previously 15. Greater rebirth runes have 8% increased energy shield recharge rate, previously 18. Say it with me, guys. Another nerf to energy shield. Creation's Rune of Recovery now grants 30% increased energy shield recharge rate when socketed in body armor, previously 50. Another nerf to energy shield. Lady Hestra's Rune of Winter no longer adds 19 to 28 cold, and instead adds 19 to 28 cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies. I mean, chilled enemies are easy, so I guess that's not even a big deal. Yeah, whatever. Looks like they did the same thing to lightning for shock, and also the same thing for fire to ignite. So no change in damage, they just added a requirement. All idols can now also be socketed into scepters. Idol of Egrin can now grants 20% increased curse duration when socketed into scepter. Idol of Eshta now grants 15% cost efficiency. Idol of Grold now adds 50% total power count by war cries, previously 20. Idol of Maxarius now grants 0.2 flash charges per second. Idol of Ralakesh grants 40% increased armor evasion and energy shield when you companion in your presence. Idol of Sirius now grants allies in your presence have 8% increased movement speed. Idol of Throdana now grants allies in your presence grant 13 to 77 attack chaos damage. Bear Idol now grants 10% increased area effect when socketed into helmets, previously 8. The bonded modifier now increases by 12% reservation efficiency of companion skills, previously 10. Boar Idol grants 0.5% maximum life per second when socketed in scepters. Previously, allies in your presence regenerate 8 life per second. Bonded modifier now grants 25% increased Warcry cooldown recovery. Cat Idol now grants 25% increased accuracy rating when socketed in gloves, previously 15. Fox Idol now has a limit of 1, and now grants socketed idols in this item also grant their bonded modifiers when socketed in body armors. Previously 2% quality of all skills. The bonded modifier now grants 5% quality of all skills when in socketed body armors, previously +4 attributes. Owl Order Idol now grants 12% increased cooldown recovery rates. Ox Idol 15% block chance when socketed in shields and bucklers, previously 10. Allows your presence of 12% elemental resistance. Primate Idol grants minions at 15% increased maximum life, previously 12. And increased 40% damage when socketed in a scepter. The bonded modifier Remnants can be collected from 15% further away, previously 20. Rabbit Idol now has a limit of 1, and it now grants 12% increased rarity of items when socketed in body armors, previously 5, and 15% increased spirit when socketed in scepters, previously 10. The bonded modifiers now grants 10% increased quality of gold drop by slain enemies when socketed in body armors, previously 5. Snake Idol now grants 8% increased curse magnitude when socketed in gloves, previously 5. Allies in your presence of 10% increased attack speed when socketed in a scepter. And the bonded modifier now grants Remnants have 15% increased effect when socketed in gloves. Stag Idol now has a limit of 1. It now grants projectiles a 15% chance to fork when socketed in helmets, previously 50% Thorns critical chance. Oh, that's boopy. That was a good one for the Thorns build. The bonded modifier for helmets now grants 30% chance for an additional projectile while forking. Wolf Idol now grants 15% magnitude of the bleeding you inflict when socketed in gloves, previously 10. Allies in your presence have 20% increased critical damage bonus in scepters. And the bonded modifier is 25% reduced magnitude of bleeding on you in gloves. Atoma's Soul Core Retreat no longer grants 30% faster start of energy shield when socketed in body armor. Another nerf to energy shield. It now gains additional ailment threshold equal to 15% of maximum energy shield and gain an additional stun threshold equal to 15% of maximum energy shield. This change applies to existing items. Maximum rage on ruby jewels can now roll between 1 to 2 maximum rage, previously 1. Existing items can possibly be updated with new values. Increased Chaos Orb on Sapphire Jewels can now roll between 7 to 13%, previously 6 to 12. Suffix modifiers granting faster start of energy shield can no longer roll on foci, intelligence body armors, or jewels. Increased energy shield recharge rate suffix modifiers can now no longer roll on intelligence body armors. Implicit modifier at the arcane raiment and sacramental robe body armors now has 15 to 25% increased energy shield recharge rate instead of 40 to 50% start of energy shield recharge. This change does not affect existing items. The fevered prefix can no longer roll on time lost sapphires and jewels. The of diffusion and of dispersal and of enlivening suffix can no longer roll on body armors and foci. The of buffering suffix grants 12 to 15% increased recharge rate, previously 36 to 40. The of ardor suffix now grants 16 to 19 increased energy shield recharge rate, previously 41 to 45. The of suffusion suffix modifier now grants 20 to 23% increased energy shield recharge rate, previously 46 to 50. Cast speed modifiers on rings and amulets are no longer shared with foci and wands. For rings and amulets, these modifiers now roll slightly higher levels. The highest tier cast speed modifier for rings now rolls at level 60 and 66 for amulets, with the maximum values on these items are unchanged. Increased banner area effect modifiers on jewels now has values of 6 to 16%, previously 10 to 20. Desecrated modifiers granting instant leech can no longer roll. Aw, Leon. That's one of your favorites. Womp womp. Womp womp. The Squire hybrid physical damage and accuracy modifier on weapons has a minimum level of 8, previously 1. The Journeyman's hybrid physical damage and accuracy modifier now has a minimum level of 14, previously 11. The precise accuracy modifier on weapons has a minimum level of 8, previously 1. The reliable accuracy modifier on weapons has a minimum of 13, previously 11. The gladiatorial helm base type has been renamed to the Cassis helm. Oswald no longer undercuts you for the priceless idols found in Act 3, now offering you 3,000, 4,000, and 6,000 gold for each, previously 500, 1,000, and 1,500. The gold price of weapons for asynchronous trade has been increased by approximately 50%. The desecrated map modifier of Union is no longer functional. This was a legacy modifier that only existed in early leagues. The monster changes. Culling Strike threshold for normal enemies is now 35%, previously 30. Monster Leech resistance now starts at a later level, and values are lower at every level. All monster rarities now have the same amount of Leech resistance. Essence monster packs are now affected by monster packs modifiers pack size. Asmari spirits that are released from monsters now retain their power and empower other spirits released from the monsters. The beam from the priest of the sun no longer ignores some walls. You will now refill flash charges when Viper Napuatzi's soldiers constrict the size of the arena. The Burning Dead and Ogum will now deal a portion of their damage as fire, previously purely physical. Improve the visual telegraphing of the lightning of Doriani's elite monster. Quest changes. You can no longer enter Plunder's Point until you have turned in all 4 map pieces in Kingsmarch. You now receive Greater Mind Rune in the Halls of Dead while interacting Neville, previously Lesser Mind Rune. You can no longer visit the Hallani Gates in order to access Treasure's Passage if you have already freed Arisu. User interface changes. Added accessibility settings to increase the size of pop-ups. These can be found in the UI section of the options panel. Added a dedicated keybind to perform dodge roll, which will not cause the player to sprint when held down. The keybind is unbound by default and must be manually assigned if in input options if you use it. Added a show only available option to the hideout decorations list when using the mouse and keyboard. For players using click to move, clicking to move while channeling, a skill that can be used while moving will no longer interrupt channeling. This should be significantly improved. The usability of such skills such as Flame Breath, Incinerate, and Click to Move. Improved visual clarity, loading times, and performance of the Acts 1 to 3 world maps. Additionally, they have been made more accurately reflect the in-game directionality of layouts. Skill information pop-outs no longer modified states to the top of the panel. They are shown in blue. The notifications that shows when an item merchant tab has sold now displays a different message when the sold item is in a different league. The reroll button in the ritual UI now pulses when you have free rerolls available. Empowered minions from previous various modifiers and sources now update the text for the minion displayed on the monster. Augment's stash tab has been updated and it now has 5 sections. Marking an enemy now shows the mark of their life bar. Maximum rage loss, delay, and rage loss per second are displayed in the character panel. Increase the maximum character limit of search text boxes to 250 characters. Copying an item's text now copies in advanced description format. Searching an item's text will now match the advanced description format. You can now set favorite trades on the currency exchange when using the mouse and keyboard. You can now pin a tracking scroll to your social profile To display your friends, guilds, and party members, you can now preview microtransaction weapon skins in the cosmetic shop without needing the applicable weapon type equipped. Added a top-down camera for viewing your hideout when using the controller. Added a feature to quickly exchange currency you are currently applying when playing the controller. Rework the currency exchange UI when playing the controller. Improve the targeted section and the items interactable objects when using the controller. Updated and restructured the option menu. Enabled in-game clock option for the Xbox. Microtransaction changes. Looks like they enabled a bunch of microtransactions. I'm not really super interested in the microtransaction stuff. If any of these are things that you're interested in, feel free to check them out. Bug fixes. Fixed a bug where life flasks could not always be used while at full life while enduring Electric Pathfinder notable passive skill, despite it allowing their effect to stay on you while at full life. Fixed a bug where the Ritualist Ritual Sacrifice gained a cooldown at level 20 specifically. Information about Ritual Sacrifice on yourself has now been folded into the skill's description rather than being described separately on an As the Whispered Demands passive. Fixed a bug where Pounce was providing additional mark effect to Predator's Mark or socketed marks. Fixed an issue that prevented Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye from properly rotating to follow their target while using the Rapid Shot or similar skills. Fixed an issue that allowed certain skills to be socketed into Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye that should have been prevented. Fixed a bug that caused Devour and Feral Invocation to not interact correctly. Fixed a bug where minion instability did not bypass Last Grasp. Fixed a bug where Thunderstorms could be created out of bounds. Fixed an issue where Hollow Palm Technique was not providing its bonuses to most skills that could be used with any martial weapon. Hollow Palm Technique now replaces your unarmed base damage for affected attacks rather than adding damage on top of the unarmed base. Huh. Sounds good. Fixed a bug that could cause modifiers to unarmed critical hit chance to not be applied to displayed critical hit chance on the skill information pop-out. Fixed several issues with the mechanics that make modifiers to the number of projectiles only to apply to other values instead. Fixed some cases where the stats from giving chances for additional projectiles did apply to skills like Rain of Arrows that use the number of projectiles to determine the number of things to place. Fixed some cases where some stats for an additional chains didn't apply to some beam skills. Fixed a bug where benefits to quality provided to Comet were not functioning. Fixed a bug where the Devour and Lightning Warp were able to devour or explode some corpses they shouldn't. Fixed a bug where Poison Spores support did not have the appropriate vendor and asynchronous trade prices. Fixed a bug where Burning Inscription support would create ignited ground around a monster instead of on top of the Runic Inscription. Fixed a bug where the low tolerance passive skill was incorrectly described as an increased effect of poison instead of an increased magnitude. Fixed a bug where Arctic Owl could empower you in human form while using Echoing Cry. Fixed some issues where ice crystals from Glacial Bolt could have weird damage calculations in some situations. Fixed a bug where the Rat Pith Global Unique Focus was missing its unique cast-on effect. Fixed a bug where Tactician's Cannon's ready notable skill passive would cause totems to attack when the player uses Molten Blast, Rolling Magma, Oil Barrage, or Powered Charge Folding Thunder. Fixed a bug where Melting Maelstrom Ultimate Unique Mana Flask was unable to hit enemies. Fixed a bug where attacks that stuck with both weapons simultaneously while dual wielding would no longer have a longer attack time than intended. Fixed a bug where skills cost a percent of a maximum energy shield could not be used if you had no maximum energy shield. Fixed a bug where the stat giving a chance for projectiles to be a chain from terrain did not correctly count how many chains had been used, allowing projectiles in some cases to chain forever from terrain. Fixed a bug where Forge Hammer slams would not count when tracking slams for the Titan Ancestral Empowerment notable passive. Fixed a bug where heightened charges support would not apply to Flicker Strike, extra flickers, power per charge consumed. Fixed a bug where Living Lightning 2 did not scale its level from the gem supporting its skill. Fixed a bug where Into the Breach would not benefit from Selfless Remnant support. Fixed numerous bugs related to the player versions of Asmari Spirit Possessions. Crafted the Rite of Passage Unique Charm, not using their skills otherwise functioning correctly. Player versions of the Asmari Possession modifiers created by the Rite of Passage Unique Charm now deal dramatically more damage using their skills frequently. Enemy versions are unchanged. Fixed a bug where Dielia's Desire Lineage support did not grant quality to meta skill gems and item granted skill gems. Fixed a bug where the Hyoxy's Fulmination Lineage support was able to support non-curse skills. Fixed a bug where Heavy Armor notable skill passive adjusted the description to be more clear. Fixed an issue where Shockwave Totem was able to be socketed in Ancestral Warrior Totem. Fixed the bug and put a totem in a totem. Fixed the bug where Echoing Cry was able to support Ancestral Cry. Fixed the bug where Melting Maelstrom, a unique ultimate mana flask, was unable to hit enemies. Fixed some intended support ability with Mirage Archer and Deadeye for some skills. Fixed the bug where the calculation for Infernal Legion was always a critical hit if it had any amount of critical hit chance. Fixed the bug where some types of reviving minion are intended to inherit player movement speed modifiers were not doing so. Specifically, Smith of Katava's Manifest Weapon row mount while other players dismounted, and the Hyenas summoned by Hyseg's Claw unique talisman. Fixed some cases where two effects empowering one skill would not stack as expected. Fixed an edge case interaction between Blood Price unique helmet reservation combining with other reservations. Fix some case skills under inherently triggered not being considered trigger skills for other stats. Fix the bug for Grim Feast sometimes fail to revive minions. Fix the bug where projectiles were ignoring ice crystals created by Frozen Locust. Fix the bug that caused Ice Nova to have a wrong visual effect and audio while repeated. Fix the bug where his Winnowing Flame skill by the Unborn Lich unique staff applied critical weakness on hit, and another bug where it triggered explosions from consuming Ignite to deal no damage. Fix the bug where channeled skills could not be interrupted by another channel skill. Fix the bug where Abyss precursor tablets would add one additional Abyss each instead of just enabling Abyss spawning. Fix the bug where negative toughness did not apply more damage taken to the target. Now negative values of toughness will apply equal amount of more damage taken. Effectively, 100% toughness halves the damage of a monster, and negative 100% toughness doubles the damage of the monster. Fixed a bug that caused players to be unable to respawn if they died to Aziri the Red Green Zipukado, the Royal Architect, in party play. Fixed a bug where the bosses could occasionally push players out of their arena. Rude. Fixed a bug where the Iron Count from using his Sword Impale skill. Fixed an issue that prevented the Bloated Miller's backhand swing from being able to be blocked, parried, or evaded. Fixed a bug that caused some boss skills to be unable to target minions. Fixed an issue which caused Abyss Pits to sometimes not close. Fixed a bug where increased chances for maps to contain Summoning Circle was instead providing base chance for maps to contain a Summoning Circle. Fixed a bug where Rogue Exiles had higher maximum infusion than intended. Fixed an issue where the boss arena force field could sometimes fail to remove in the Stronghold map after defeating the boss. Fixed a bug where experimented monsters in the Synth Flesh Lab could sometimes get stuck. Fixed an issue where beyond bosses were getting more damage reduction than intended when they first spawned. Fixed a bug where Arc provided additional chains regardless of whether lightning infusion was consumed. Fixed a bug where poison on critical hit modifier on the Aztec Site unique helmet did not apply to critical hits with Thorn's damage. Fixed a bug where reloading and switching ammunition with a crossbow was counting as attacking. Fixed a bug where many bleed modifiers did not apply Thorn's damage. Fixed a bug where certain triggers could generate energy. Fixed a bug where Prism of Belief, the unique jewel, could roll modifiers for Solar Orb. Fixed a bug where Stoicism support was able to support non-attack skills. Fixed an issue where Volt support incorrectly had a chaining tag. Fixed a bug where Iron Ward's Nova wasn't correctly affected by Astral Projection support. Fixed a bug where Lightning Warp was prioritizing selected targets instead of cullable enemies or ball projectiles. Fixed a bug where passives that granted increased area effect to ancestrally boosted attacks were actually multiplicative. Fixed a bug where Blink, Parry, and Raise Shield were not counted as skill uses. What does that mean? This also fixes a bug where using Parry or Raise Shield did not count as channeling. It did not count as channeling. How did it not count as channeling? I even used it as a channel. There was a channeling support gem, and I used it as a channeling skill, and it did work with the channeling support skill. Weird. Fixed a bug where surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow could cause a lightning rod to fire an incorrect location. Fixed a bug where you could be placed at an incorrect checkpoint when respawning after dying to some bosses. Fixed a bug where corrupting essences could sometimes remove the essence. Fixed a bug where essence monsters and packs did not have their stats increased due to being part of a rare pack. Fixed a bug where Delirium Fog would visually continue to spread while the game was paused. Fixed a bug where items without modifiers could appear in lower level ritual encounters. Fixed a bug where you could not open a portal in the boss area of the creek map after killing the boss. Fix an issue where the roving wisps encounter in Crier Village was unable to be completed. Fix an issue where the summoning circles were blocking projectiles after the boss defeated and they crumbled. Fix an issue where shrines were difficult to highlight when surrounded enemies. Fix an issue where you could be desynced when walking near the Tree of Souls. After freeing the Hooded One in Growlwood, fix a bug that could cause the player to visually move away from the center of the screen when slowed while werewolf form. Fix an issue where the following quests wouldn't complete if you left the area before the boss finished their death animation: Shrike Island, Isle of Kin, Wapakanaku Island, and Abandoned Prison. Fix the bug where Soul Core ultimatum encounters could be completed using a single core. Fix a rare issue that wasn't a small Soul Core available in the first Stone Altar Jaquani's Machinarium. I actually had that happen to me once. Fix an issue where the Abyss world map icon on Nagakanu failed to complete when completing the corresponding abyssal depths. Fixed a bug where the shoreline hideout world map icon did not complete. Fixed an issue where the ground effects could display incorrectly in the Path of Morning. Fixed an issue where sources of player movement would sometimes cause the player to move in a slightly different direction from what was intended. This was particularly noticeable when using a controller and with skills that have built-in movement such as dodge roll and most melee skills. Fixed an issue where parry's description did not state that all hits can be parried, instead just mentioning strikes and projectiles. Fixed an issue where Varshta's Blessing lineage support did not state that it does not modify skills of minions. Fixed an issue where Herald of Blood incorrectly states that its damage was based on maximum life, and now correctly states that its damage is based on blood loss. Fixed a bug where various hit sounds were playing too loudly from party members. Fixed a bug that would prevent audio cue from energy shield depleted from playing if the cause of the depletion was damage over time. Fixed a bug where hovering over totems in the skill panel would incorrectly prompt a right click to activate if you had an Ancestral Bond keystone. Fixed a bug where the items that could not have an Exalted Orb applied to them were incorrectly highlighted when you would use an Exalted Orb. Fixed a bug where double-clicking a portal area transition with a confirmation pop-up would display a pop-up twice. Fixed an issue where boss health bars would be visible inside the Atlas screen. Fixed a bug where your friends list could sometimes be blank on PlayStation, experiencing an instant crash. Fixed the bug where the upgraded variants of the Grip of Kulamok could not be stored in the unique stash tab. Fixed the bug where presence radiance indicators could stop working in certain scenarios. Fixed the bug where unsupported character glyphs was showing a thousands place of locales. Fixed the bug that could cause skills granted by Ascendancy passive skills to be hidden from the list of applicable skills when cutting a support gem. Fixed a bug where word-by-word text navigation and text fields would incorrectly wrap at the end of the text input in some situations. Fixed a bug where having the hostile takeover quest completed on another character would show the Act 4 world map prior to your character being in Act 4. Fixed a bug where the bulk move action wasn't available in the market earnings page while playing with a controller. Fixed a bug where the players relived while inside another object would not be moved to safety. Fix a bug where you could not always select attack without moving for some reason. Fix an issue where disabling crossplay when playing a console would carry across when you logged into that account. Fix a bug where couch co-op players trying to join public party would be refused if the party had only just enough space for them. Fix a bug when playing in couch co-op where other players would be wrongly kicked from the party if player 2 created and entered a map. Fix a bug where Zipicado's console could not be interacted with when playing in couch co-op. Fix a bug when disconnecting and reconnecting controller during haptics. Disable haptics. Fix a bug where crossplay would be disabled while settings still showed it as enabled. Fix a bug where you would try to select characters of 2 different leagues when playing in couch co-op. Fixed an issue where the selecting solo cell phone and the character selection grayed out the character selection button. Fix a bug where the haptic feedback for low health continued to play while the game was paused. Fix the bug where you could become stuck inside scenery when exiting hideout and editing mode using a controller. Fix an issue where Enezun's charge unique wand was missing its 3D model. Fix the bug where Pounce gem art did not reflect the meta gem. Fixed an issue where the consuming tentacle rare finisher effect was previously stated as enabled in Path of Exile but could not be equipped. Fixed an issue where the black hole rarer finisher effect was previously stated as being enabled in Path of Exile 2 but cannot be equipped. Fix an issue where the Dragonfire rare finisher was previously stated as being enabled in Path of Exile 2 but cannot be equipped. Fix a bug where the Archmagus portal effect microtransaction was missing. Alright. So, this is a big patch notes. I mean, going over the patch notes, I mean, there's a lot of interesting and fun things in the patch notes. I mean, first off, the Kalguuran uniques and skills, and we have a listing here, but we don't know what they actually are. I wonder if anybody has like a a pull of them already or something. I have no clue how this works. I'm gonna have to wait till the game actually launches, or if they release the information. But I mean, we have names of them at least, and you can kind of get an idea of what they do just by their name. I mean, Detonate Living is probably a lot like Detonate Dead, I would assume. And Fragments of the Past, Frostflame Nova, Grim Pillars, Hollow Shell, Ley Lines, Power of the Verisium. I'm gonna rip off your little nose, sir. Yeah, you want your noseums ripped off? I'm gonna pow. Oh no, it's got your noseums. What you gonna do about that? And I'm how about that, Jack? How about this? And how about a Nugum right there? How about that? Yeah, I'm trying to talk, sir. Yeah, I'm trying to talk. And you are being rude. They also have the Kalguuran support. So we've got 21 Kalguuran skills and 8 Kalguuran supports. It looks like a lot of these could potentially work into builds. I mean, I'm just reading the things on them, so I don't exactly know what they do, but we're going to have to dive into these at some point. I wonder if anybody has like a listing of them or if they're on like PoE2DB. I mean, I doubt there's any information on PoE2DB about them already, but type in like Kalguuran skills. Let's see if they have a listing of the skills yet. Well, no, they just have the ones that we already knew about, which was the Frostflame Nova. They showed that. The Hollow Shell, they showed that one. The Repulsion, they did show that one, and the Runic Infusion, and they showed the Triskelion Cascade. So we have the basic ones at this point. But this then I need to see these skills so I can know how to build my character. There's obviously 21 of these skills and 8 new supports, so that's going to be kind of crazy. I mean, overall, it looks like the changes are good. For some reason, they had a kind of a very... I'm not really sure like why, but it definitely seems like they were hitting Energy Shield really hard with nerfs, and they were hitting Life Steal pretty hard with nerfs. And I'm actually kind of confused how lifesteal works at all, to be perfectly honest, at this point. I mean, it sounds to me like you could only have one source of life leech, and only one source of life leech can be active at any given time, and like there's a bunch of new rules to it. All of the new stuff that they added to like Delirium, Breach, Ritual, it all looks good. Apparently they have like individual pages for each one of these changes. I wonder what's on these. Okay, so this just takes you to the to like the page on the changes, which they did the live reveal and they showed us a lot of this stuff already. So scroll down. I don't really care about the Fate of the Vaal bullcrap. It sounds like they did some heavy nerfing on the Fate of the Vaal anyway, so I don't know how good that's even going to be this season. Expedition has been disabled in the regular game because the whole new expedition mechanic. So we're gonna dive into that, I guess. There were some really good changes in here. Some of them were just vague balancing stuff, which is fine. I do like the campaign replayability stuff. There's actually a video on that that kind of goes over it, but it's pretty basic stuff. I mean, it's like when you're going through the hunting grounds, like you'll find footprints, and the footprints lead you toward the boss. If you sort of like use your brain and be like, hey, look, there's some freaking big footprints over here. I wonder where these go, and then kind of follow them. You'll kind of go in that direction. The player damage, the bleed damage no longer being applied to a player while moving, or no longer increased while moving, is actually really good. Your maximum runic ward applying to the Trial of Sekimas is really good. I actually really like that. I'm not really sure about the deflection changes, but it looks like the deflection changes are good. This right here, I think this is a good change. Basically, I think there was something going on with parry shield block and resonating shield causing the heavy stun buildup from decaying or something. It was delaying the decay. And I think, because I do actually remember that, it was like they just wouldn't go away sometimes. Like you would use an ability and it just wouldn't go away ever. Maybe that's what they're doing here, and that looks like a bug fix. I'm not sure about this melee splash thing going on. I think this is specific to some items that move multiple times, like Whirling Assault is the one that they talked about, which creates multiple damaging areas as you move. So you can't like have a splash damage multiple times as you're Whirling Assaulting multiple times across the arena. Which I'm not even sure how that even works, as Whirling Assault really doesn't have any damage, which is also kind of weird. All the new lineage supports are going to be fun to dive into. Of course, I don't know what any of them do really yet, and all the new unique items. We've got a couple of the new unique items like shown to us so far, but we'll have to dive into those as they're released. They did make some changes, a couple small changes to the Chayula setting, and they made quite a few changes to the Chronomancer. The Chronomancer has changed a lot. I'm not exactly sure about some of these changes on the Chronomancer. I'd have to see him in action. The Gemling Legionnaire got a bunch of changes. It looks like they took away his charges or whatever, like the Frenzy charges and the Endurance charges. It seems like they took that away entirely. But they did add an interesting thing called the Crystalline Potential Notable passive, which is interesting. I was actually just about to watch the video on that. I haven't seen that yet, but there is a video going over apparently some of the Ascendancy changes, and we could actually watch that right now, because now that we have the patch notes, we can get a better idea of these Ascendancy changes. Let's take a quick look at the Ascendancy changes real quick.
In Return of the Ancients, we're making several much anticipated balance changes to the Chronomancer and Gemling Legionnaire Ascendancy classes. Let's take a closer look at some of them. Starting with the Gemling Legionnaire, we've expanded on how the Gemling interacts with quality on his gems. Every socketable skill in the game now has an additional quality option available through the Advanced Thaumaturgy Ascendancy skill. Once allocated, simply hold Alt while hovering your skill gems to preview an additional bonus granted by gem quality. You're gonna see some amazing effects. An example is Fireball. Instead of firing only 2 additional projectiles, why not fire up to 10 in a circle? Combined with consuming a fire infusion, you can fire a devastating ring of explosive projectiles that then each explode into another ring of smaller firebolts. Another example of an added quality that may also add quality to your life is Explosive Shot. Instead of having to reload after every shot, you can gain 2 more rounds in your magazine for a burst of deadly impact. With the Gemling Legionnaire's mastery of gems, he is also able to conjure a powerful barrier from his socketed skill gems, named the Virtuous Barrier. Each socketed skill gem empowers the barrier, making its effects stronger depending on the gem's required attributes. With the Virtuous Barrier skill providing some much needed defenses, and the additional qualities of over 200 different skill gems, it's more than meets the eye, and we look forward to seeing what you can come up with for your builds. Onwards to the Chronomancer. First off, let's start with one of its new notable skills, Phased Form. With Phased Form allocated, and due to your mastery over time, you are able to take less damage, causing a portion of that damage to be taken after a delay. This serves as a pretty strong defensive node, especially as the delayed damage only applies to hits, so you just straight up mitigate any damage over time effects. What makes this really cool though, is that by taking Temporal Rift, the delayed damage from Phased Form can entirely be negated. If you take a big hit, then use Temporal Rift, not only does your life recover back to what it was, but the delayed damage is just eradicated. Now some changes to existing Ascendancy skills, starting with Inevitable Agony. This has received new visual and gameplay effects, such as displaying your stored damage to bosses on static life bars. Also, now when the stored damage reaches a lethal level, the effect will trigger immediately to wipe your enemy out. The Rapid River passive skill, which made recoup occur much faster, has been removed, but a lot more recoup speed investment has been added to the core passive tree. allowing a lot more builds to gain access to this power. Additionally, a highly requested change has finally come. Time Snap and Time Freeze can now both be allocated without requiring all 8 Ascendancy points. Finally, Now and Again has been changed to cause your spellcasts to have a chance to alter time itself and both echo and repeat. Both roles are independent of each other, allowing you to unleash a powerful burst of spells all at once. Try out these changes and more on May 29th in the Return of the Ancients launch. Thanks for watching and see you then.
Alright. And they also released this one on the Expedition. We don't really know like a super large amount about the Expedition, so let's take a look at this one too.
Game Director on Path of Exile 2. In the Runes of Aldlar League, logbooks are seeing some big changes. It's time to go seafaring like true explorers. Yes, you can explore the ocean. To the southeast of the Atlas lies a vast ocean with new environments to discover and treasures to unearth. In the Runes of Aldlar, while doing expedition encounters, you might find logbooks, and by using these on the ocean, a small part of it will be revealed. As the fog recedes, you'll discover many new islands, most of which you won't have seen before, and all of them will contain expedition encounters. In these encounters, you'll need to blow up the remains of buried Kalguurans, bringing them back to life only to slay them again and steal their loot. Expeditions now also include the Runes of Aldlar crafting remnants, granting immense opportunities with a wide selection of recipes. But there's more than just the buried dead. Each island has all sorts of things to find and explode. In the bleached shoals, you'll discover siren eggs throughout the area, as well as clams that contain a surprising amount of riches. As you destroy the eggs, siren spawn will emerge from the water. But be careful. If you destroy enough eggs, the siren herself will arrive to defend her children. On this craggy peninsula, you can find another camp of the kin, hiding in their hovels. Blowing them up should get them out of there. And while you're at it, you can free some of their caged beasts. They've even caged some exiles in order to watch them fight with each other. Why not blow them up too?
Yeah, blow up everybody.
In this inland heath, you will find a gigantic remnant with a series of smaller runestones. Each one you blow up will activate another slot on the massive remnant, allowing you to craft almost any recipe. But there's still many more. Free trap wisps, blow open root doors, even raise ancient precursor technology. In order to explore the ocean further, we'll need to acquire more logbooks by killing runic monsters, indicated by large flagpoles around the dig site. With each logbook, you can explore more of the ocean, and you can go as deep as you like. There are ancient vaults, a bunch of new bosses, all sorts of underground areas, and a few other surprises. There's just so much to see and explore, so join us for the release of The Return of the Ancients on May 29th. Thanks for watching, and see you then.
I don't know, the YouTube videos I post are always laggy for me. I don't know why. And then we've got the Breach rework as well. Let's take a look at that one.
When you first do a breach in the endgame, you will find Aelith, one of the Keepers of the Flame, an ancient order of monks dedicated to preventing the Hiveborn from entering the world. As you seem to be a keen slayer of demons, Aelith would like to recruit you to the order and asks that you travel to their monastery to the south. On the way there, you'll start to encounter more breaches, and will notice one of the first changes to the breach mechanic. You still have to kill monsters as fast as you can to keep the breach open, but now you can visibly see how much time you have left to keep it open, and how each kill extends its duration. Once you've reached the monastery, you will learn more about the Keepers. In the 25 years since the events of Keepers of the Flame in Path of Exile 1, the war with the Hiveborn has not gone well, and they have managed to establish a foothold in the world nearby. A gigantic area has fallen to the Scourge, and the Keepers are unable to get inside. Inside the monastery is the Genesis Tree, a powerful asset to the war effort, stolen from the enemy and gifted to the Keepers by the Dreamer himself. Using the tree, Aelith could create a breach stone and penetrate the Hiveborn foothold, but without hive blood, the tree has withered. To get Hiveblood, you will need to take advantage of another new mechanic of Breach. If you can keep the otherworldly portal open for long enough, the Breach will stabilize and will enter a new phase.
I think it's changing resolutions while I'm watching it, and it's like lagging itself out.
The Hiveborn will send their toughest miscreations to defeat you, and the Breach will not close until you can annihilate them, dropping Hiveblood that you can use to restore the Genesis tree. In some cases, you may even attract one of the deadliest foes the Hiveborn can offer, a Marshal of Zesht. These monsters also drop womb gifts, and if you take these to the Genesis tree, they can be used to craft items to help you in the war against the Hiveborn. Given that 25 years have passed since the beginning of the war, the tree has grown and withered many times, but with each cycle it learns and expands its abilities. When you first open the Genesis tree, you will notice these holes into which you can place your womb gifts. Each womb gift can be used to create a different type of jewelry and must be fertilized with Hiveblood. So for example, you can place this amulet womb gift into the tree and it will give birth to a random rare amulet. But the Genesis tree is capable of much more. As you continue to feed the tree, its branches will regenerate and allow you more and more control over what kind of items it will birth. So for example, this branch of the tree will allow you to control which base types of amulets can be birthed. And as you go deeper, it will even allow you to create new base types that you can't get anywhere else. Like this one, which gives you an entire spirit skill for free. Or this one, which has a rune socket in it. To the left and right are branches that will let you control which mods the amulet can get, including making sure that they're higher level, or controlling which specific mods that they will always have. With 15 points to allocate, you will have to choose wisely how you want to specialize your crafts, but it's worth noting that this tree doesn't have any cost to respecking it. You can enable or disable the nodes at any time by clicking on them. On rings, we've also added some really interesting new crafting options as well. You have a bunch of new base types like these, but you also have entire new classes of mods that can be added. The right-hand branch of the ring tree adds an entire new set of caster mods to rings. From basics like extra elemental damage for spells, or more niche options like this mod that increases the rate you gain seals for Unleash. And on the left-hand side, you can unlock an entire new set of mods for minion characters. This stuff is actually pretty important, because casters and minion builds didn't have as many slots with interesting item crafting compared to attack builds. The Genesis tree narrows that gap. There are also trees for belts and currency. I won't go over them too much here, but there are all sorts of goodies in these too, like being able to create new catalysts for jewels, or a belt that gives lightning damage. Once you've done enough breach encounters, you may finally get a womb gift capable of birthing a breachstone. And you can then use it on the Hiveborn incursion. Once used, the true extent of the Breach Demon's foothold becomes clear. They have not only transformed the land, but constructed huge Skyhives as well. When you enter the outskirts of their realm, you will discover Breach Hives. Using the power of the Keepers of the Flame, these otherworldly structures can be burned away when walking through them. But for each one destroyed, more of the Hiveborn will attack when you attempt to purge the hive. These encounters are particularly rewarding for womb gifts, so you'll want to do as many of these as you can. But your real goal are the Skyhives deeper into the domain. These twisted creations are securing the demon's entry into our world. Inside the very center are the Breach Lords Tool and Ash, and you will need to defeat them if you want to get rid of the foothold once and for all.
That big old butt shield.
Now, once you've completed the questline version, there is still more to do. You will find other breach domains on the Atlas randomly in your travels. For each one, you will need to find a Breachstone, destroy the Skyhives, and defeat the Breach Lords. And doing these encounters is what will give you access to fight Zesht, the existing Breach Pinnacle boss, which you can access by communing with the Dreamer himself inside the monastery. While completing the questline for Breach, you will also be gaining points for the Breach Atlas tree, and there are a lot of cool new options here. This node will cause Breach Hives to spawn outside of the Hiveborn domains on the Atlas. And this one will give Aelith additional abilities that you can use while attacking a Hive. Like this one, which causes all Hiveborn in the next wave to be magic, drastically increasing their difficulty in exchange for way more items. There are also nodes that allow you to control your rewards, like this one, which adds a set of new lineage supports to the Marshal of Zesht. Or this one, which lets you control which womb gifts you will get. There's also some nodes that affect the Genesis tree, like this one, which will cause Zesht to drop his head, which when returned to the Genesis tree, will grow a grasping orchid on the side of it. You'll have to experiment to find out what this thing is good for. Putting rings on its fingers seems to make it happy.
Putting rings on its fingers seems to make it happy. Well, I'm pretty excited about this. I actually kind of already have a build planned, but obviously I'm going to be making changes to my build depending on like more information about these Kalguuran skills and the Kalguuran supports. I also feel like some of these uniques could be pertinent to my build as well. We'll have to see. A lot of uniques they added into the game. Who knows how many of these could potentially be useful for what I'm planning. Overall, I mean, the patch notes look mostly good. I'm not sure about the nerfs to Life Leech, and Energy Shield always seems to be the red-headed stepchild these days. It seems like they're constantly nerfing it and beefing up the other ones. They even increased overall the percentage of evasion and armor, but then didn't really increase the Energy Shield at all, and they also increased how effective deflection is as well, so interesting. I think that's pretty much it. There are some other videos up on some of the other unique items, like the Rage Fists, or Facebreaker. The Facebreaker looks pretty good. There's also a special unique shield that looks really amazing. They also reworked some of the existing uniques, and there's some videos on that as well. I mean, overall, it's going to be exciting. On May 29th, when the 0.5 patch launches, I'm going to keep my eyes open for more videos, because they seem to be just like leaking out videos every single day. But I think that's pretty much it. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you enjoy the content, and keep watching.